Now that the Texas versus Tanner Horner trial is over, he's been sentenced and he's been transported to his new home, which is death row in Texas. I'm going to summarize everything that we learned at the trial about Athena Strand's case, particularly for those of you who were not able to catch a lot of the trial, and for those of you who asked me in my previous video to do the summary. Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. So we're going to start from the day that Athena was abducted and all the way through to the trial, and I'm going to give you a quick summary of each day of the trial so that you'll know which witnesses you might want to go and check out for the first time or maybe revisit. If you didn't know, I have a playlist for you. Every trial day is on there, including there's actually a trial prep video as well. I think this video will be better than the trial prep video now because of course it's going to be more accurate with all the details that we learned at the trial. So check out the playlist. Each trial day is timestamped for you. That means you can check the pinned comments, the description box, or just hover over the video and very easily navigate to whichever witness you want to revisit, check out for the first time, and just hear what they've got to say. Of course, in this video, while this is a summary, and I hope to give you a really good summary, there's so much information that we learned from this trial. And I would recommend checking out a lot of the police interviews, the body cam, Athena Strand's mother, father, and stepmother's full testimonies, Texas Ranger Espinoza, and a few others as well. We'll get to those highlights. But for now, let me tell you what happened and when. And please know this absolutely comes with a trigger warning because it's one of the worst cases that I think many of us have ever heard of. It involves the abduction and murder of 7-year-old Athena Strand. And what Tanner Horner did to her is just absolutely unthinkable.
Never gonna say goodbye, never gonna give you up, never gonna say goodbye.
Now, because we love reading documents here at Grizzly True Crime, I've decided to write my own document for today's episode because it just is better for me to get in all the details on paper to read to you so that I don't miss a thing. Otherwise, sometimes I worry, what if I miss something? You know what I mean? So we're going to read through this together. It's an 8-page document that I've written for you. And let's start from the beginning. On November 30th of 2022, at approximately 5:30 p.m., 7-year-old Athena Strand was abducted from her dad's 10-acre property in Paradise, Texas, by a FedEx driver who was there to deliver her Christmas presents. You can be anything Barbies. It was a Wednesday, and Athena had gone to school. She'd seen her friends and favorite teacher, Mrs. Thompson, said goodbye, and gotten on the school bus and back home around 4:15 p.m. As the sun was setting, her dad, Jacob Strand, left for a hunting trip with his own father. And as he was leaving, Athena ran up to the truck to give her dad an extra hug. He told her to be careful because he could have backed into her. She smiled, she hugged her dad, and she waved him goodbye.
I told all the kids and Athena bye and gave her a hug, and then after I was, or as I was leaving, I was backing up, she ran up to the truck because she wanted to give me another hug, and I told her not to run up on me while I'm backing up in the truck, and gave her another hug until I ran over.
Her stepmother, Ashley Strand, was preparing a dinner of trout and couscous and told Athena to sort her clothing out so that her laundry could be done. So apparently she told her to fold her clothing and put her dirty laundry in the basket and to do that before anything else. And Athena did that, and then she went outside to play. She had a favorite tree where she and her stepsisters played and lined up all their toys. At the time, her stepsisters, 10-year-old, I won't say her name, a 10-year-old and an 18-month-old were in the house with Athena's stepmother Ashley while she was making dinner, and Athena was still outside just playing, waiting for Ashley to call her inside for dinner. Athena loved nature, insects, her trampoline, the horses on the property, and lived a life that so many children could only dream of. She'd been staying with her dad since around May of 2022. Her mom, Maitland Gandy, lived in Oklahoma, and she had some medical problems. So Athena went to stay with her dad, and she attended first grade in Paradise, Texas, and she absolutely loved school. Now, Jacob Strand and Maitland Gandy, they shared custody of Athena. So this was a mutual agreement, and Athena was just so excited to be there with her dad, and she just, loved first grade there. She was due to go back home to her mom after the Thanksgiving holidays, and she was really looking forward to her favorite holiday, which was Christmas. A photo of Athena with a beautiful red bow and Christmas pajamas was taken 4 days before she died. Her mother, Maitland, brought the actual red bow to court during her emotional testimony, and she held it while speaking about her daughter.
That is her red bow for Christmas, because red was the theme for our family that year.
Ma'am, I notice you have something in your hand there. Show that to the jury.
This is her red bow.
Is that the same red bow that we see in that picture?
Yes, sir.
Do you leave home without that?
Not when I come to this state.
Maybe back home every once in a while?
Every once in a while. Quick trip to Walmart, maybe.
Athena's favorite color was pink, and everyone worldwide has honored her by wearing pink, putting up pink lights, or sharing pink hearts on social media. At about 6:05 p.m., Ashley called Athena in for dinner. When Athena did not appear, she went to look for her, and she couldn't find her anyway. She searched the entire property, Athena's favorite spots. She called her sister-in-law, who also lived on the property, and then, in a panic, she decided to report Athena missing to the Wise County Sheriff's Department, and that was around 6:40 p.m.
So once you kind of figure that out, what is your next steps when she's not where you think she is?
And I called the police. I mean, when nobody could find her. But the biggest one was when we were all huddled in a circle and the helicopters were flying over us and nobody could find her.
She then called Jacob Strand, Athena's dad, her husband at the time, who also told her to report her missing. And he then turned around and he came back home, arriving shortly after the police had arrived. Ashley did notice that a Walmart box had been delivered, but it was oddly placed in front of an abandoned trailer on the property. So not at their front door, like at this abandoned trailer. So that was weird, right? Police would later testify that FedEx driver Tanner Horner delivered the package, but did not mark it as delivered. So this action is what led police to already talking to him the next day on December 1st of 2022 and arresting him on December 2nd of 2022. I wonder what would have happened, how long it would have taken for them to, find him if he had not actually just left the package there. Tanner Horner was a 31-year-old delivery man working for a FedEx contracting company called Big Topspin. On the day of the abduction, he was making routine deliveries in the rural area of Paradise, Texas, and he'd been on the job for about 6 months. Before that, he had worked as an Uber driver at Walmart and Amazon. He lived in a shed on his grandmother's property, and he had a 21-year-old girlfriend and an 18-month-old son. He loved Dragon Ball Z and had a matching backpack and lunchbox in his FedEx truck. He considered himself an artist, was a singer in a band, I have to say singer in a band, okay, and had a YouTube channel where he made noise to his favorite songs. And he dreamed of becoming famous. In the days leading up to the abduction, Tanner had intermittently covered up the camera in the van, so that seems premeditated, and had also behaved oddly at a home where he delivered a package to 2 young girls. Whose parents then came out to accept the package and seemed to interrupt whatever he thought he was going to do. He had marijuana in his pocket and told people that he also carried some cocaine with him. And at some point in the police interviews, we saw him tell the police that, since he had his son, his work ethic just went up. And we were all like, okay, but you were driving a FedEx van in your FedEx uniform. Well, just the top, right? He had jeans on, but okay, and you had drugs in your pocket and you abducted and murdered a little girl on the job. And you think that's a good work ethic? Damn. On November 30th of 2022, Tanner delivered Athena's Christmas gift, walked up to her, placed his hand over her mouth and said, "Don't scream or I'll hurt you." And in the opening statements, the prosecutor said that he said that twice, very sternly, and it would have scared the crap out of Athena, right? He then picked her up and put her in his van and drove off. Athena, who had learned all about stranger danger at school and had written about it in her last journal entry, asked him, "Are you a kidnapper?" Tanner's initial story to everyone was that he had accidentally backed into Athena, injured her and panicked, which is why he abducted and killed her. That story would still make no sense, but okay. He later invented the story that Athena had seen him snorting cocaine and he feared that he would lose his job, so he then abducted and killed her. Yeah, that still doesn't make any sense, and how would a 7-year-old know if that's what he did, what he was doing, and also the cameras didn't capture him doing that. He also, via a jail letter in May of 2023, told Athena's parents that an old man with a rifle forced him to abduct Athena and hand her to him, and he also created an alter ego named Zero that he told police was the one responsible for his actions that day. So as you can see, he lies a lot. However, throughout the trial, we learned that Tanner has a history of alleged sexual assaults, including on his own cousin Billy, who testified that Tanner raped him when he was just 7 years old and Tanner was 10, and he said he did this a second time when he was 10 and Tanner was around 13. Social media posts about Tanner describe him as a sadist, a rapist, and someone who never takes accountability for his own actions. On November 30th of 2022, I keep saying the date just so we know where we are, November 30th, 2022, okay? As Tanner drove off with Athena, he made small talk with her. This was all captured on video that the jury saw. And he asked about her name, her family, and her school, and she was just answering the questions. He told police that he thought her name was pretty cool because he was into mythology and stuff. Oh my word. Athena is the name of the ancient Greek goddess of wisdom, warfare, and handicraft, one of the most famous figures in Greek mythology. So it is a cool name, but to hear the abductor and killer say that, it was just terrible. The way that he said it to the police as well, oh man. Athena started crying and she wanted to go home. While the public did not see or hear the video or hear the audio captured by the FedEx truck camera, witnesses testifying to what they saw and heard offered the public sufficient details to know just how deeply disturbing it was. So the judge made sure that that wasn't live streamed to the public. Those records were not made public. And so the jury, though, Athena's family, the detectives, the judge, everyone in the courtroom, they saw the approximately 20 minutes from when Tanner abducted Athena, and she was on video in the van. Then he covered the camera, and they heard about 40 minutes of audio, which was of the murder of Athena. And they'll never unhear that. That must be so disturbing. Tanner told Athena to shut up and to hold on because the road was going to get a bit bumpy, indicating that he'd been to the place he was taking Athena to. He covered the lens of the camera with a sticky note, stopped the vehicle, and told Athena to take her shirt off. She told him that her mom said that she was not supposed to do that. His demeanor changed, and he told her not to scream or he would kill her. So before it was don't scream or I'll hurt you. Now he was saying don't scream or I'll kill you. And he also told her to do exactly what he told her to. He told her to take her clothes off. Over 40 minutes of horrifying audio was recorded where Tanner sexually assaulted, beat, stomped on, and strangled Athena, at times calling her a bitch, and singing Jingle Bell Rock while brutally attacking her. I think us just knowing about what people testified to, I think every time that many of us will hear Jingle Bell Rock, it will just never be the same again. Can you imagine the people that actually heard that? That he was singing Jingle Bell Rock while inflicting this horrific abuse and torture on this little girl. And you know, Christmas was her favorite holiday. That is just beyond disturbing. During the trial, the state and defense debated about whether Athena was sexually assaulted or not, but Tanner's DNA was found in places it should never be found, even though her little body was left in the Trinity River for 2 days before being found. His DNA was also under her fingernails, and the Texas Rangers described Athena as fighting for her life and being stronger than anyone could imagine. Tanner sadistically tortured and murdered Athena. Dr. Jessica Dwyer, the Dallas County Chief Medical Examiner, performed Athena's autopsy. That was on December 3rd of 2022, and testified on day 5 of the trial that Athena died from blunt force injuries combined with smothering and strangulation. Tanner had tried to kill her multiple times during the time that she was in his van, and each time that he learned that she was still alive, his rage escalated. She had tread-like patterns on her face, neck, and chest, which prosecutors later said matched the bottom of Tanner Horner's shoes. Dr. Dwyer testified that Athena had no visible physical trauma to her private parts. However, she noted that this does not rule out sexual contact or assault. A sexual assault kit was collected, and later DNA testing from a separate witness found male DNA consistent with Tanner Horner, again, in places it should never have been. Once Tanner had murdered Athena, he drove to Bobo's Crossing and, in his own words, tossed her in there, which was in the Trinity River, approximately 15 miles from her home. She was found naked, face down, with injuries all over her body on December 2nd of 2022, when Tanner led police there. Some of her clothing was found in piles of trash at his house. Like, his entire shed was just such a mess. It was so terrible. And then outside, just piles of trash, and Athena's underwear and sock was found there, and her pants was found in his backpack. So, okay, and they never found her top, by the way. So he then drove to Love's Travel Stop, a gas station, and the camera was no longer covered. So that also tells you, you know, it's very calculated, because the defense tried to make, like, you know, they threw all the spaghetti at the wall when it comes to diagnoses, multiple, plural, just like so many labels they threw out there. But there's absolutely no excuse for what he did. There's really no mitigating evidence. And just the fact that the camera wasn't covered, and then it was, and then it wasn't again, just shows all the actions he was taking, right? So he went to this gas station. The camera was no longer covered. He was not, so we saw this, right? He was not listening to music this time. He was just sitting there silently smoking a cigarette, eerily calm. It was really scary to see. Once at the truck stop, he got out of the van. He got some paper towels and a spray bottle, and he started cleaning the back of the van. He told detectives that Athena had lost control of her bowels during the attack. Of course, he said it in a much worse, much more crass way. But okay, during the attack, and that he had vomited. His grandmother testified that when Tanner was younger, he threw up when he got very excited. This likely stood out to the jury, because many of us speculated then, yeah, if he was the one who threw up, yeah, it could have been out of excitement. Tanner missed the delivery of 5 packages that day, and he simply resumed the following morning. Like, he went back to work early, just carried on, just right where he left off. But he wanted the same truck. So on his way back to his work base, you know, where they'd park all the FedEx vans, he called his girlfriend to say that he'd be a bit late because she was going to pick him up. And then he called his boss to request the same truck the next day, telling him that it smells like barf in here. And he said it was because he felt unwell that day and he'd gotten sick.
I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm going to give me the same truck tomorrow. because it kind of smells like marks in here. I guess I just ate something bad earlier. But I kind of threw up in the back of the truck, which I'm still good to work tomorrow, don't worry. But I did eat something that didn't agree with me that kind of stinks now.
Video from the truck showed him placing clothing in his backpack, which some of that was Athena's clothes. He told detectives that his girlfriend picked him up from his work base, and then they went home, they had dinner, and they watched Game of Thrones. Like, this guy can just have a normal evening after abducting, torturing, and murdering a little girl. We later learned that during a deposition, his girlfriend had disclosed that they had sex that night. Tanner wore the same FedEx shirt and his jeans for the next 2 days. DNA experts testified that they had semen, sweat, and Athena's DNA on them. It was just so disgusting. Like, that guy was probably so smelly and dirty. Okay, on December 1st of 2022, the next day, the search escalated dramatically. Roughly 300 people, including volunteers with dogs, horses, ATVs, four-wheelers, and boats, joined law enforcement from multiple agencies. Wise County Sheriff's Office, Texas Rangers, Fort Worth Police, Texas Highway Patrol, game wardens, and others. A formal command post was set up at a nearby church, and also at a fire station. Searches expanded beyond the property into fields, wooded areas, ponds, and roads in the rural Paradise Boyd area. It was described as shoulder to shoulder in some places. Like, the community really showed up. Investigators began focusing more seriously on the FedEx driver as a key lead. They traced the Barbie doll package and identified Big Topspin, the contractor, and Tanner Horner as the driver. They started pulling digital evidence, cell tower data, and they reached out to the camera software company, which was called Velociter, for any truck footage. On that same day, Tanner Horner drove through the active search area near Athena's home, where police, family, volunteers, horses, ATVs, and search teams were looking for her. Video from inside the truck shows him honking at people, blocking the road, and speaking to a woman. Like, he was frustrated. He's like, "What are you all doing? You're blocking the road. I have to deliver packages."
Get through. Hey, could you tell them I need to get through? There's like people in the vehicle in mine. Huh? No, that's the only way out. I have more packages to deliver. That's the only way out. There's like all packages I need to deliver.
You can pull up and try to ask them to get through, but there's been a kidnapping. So it's all blocked off. So you'll have to just pull up and ask them if they'll let you through, but there's been a 7-year-old taken.
Are you serious?
Put on this report.
Sorry, oh, are you serious?
So if you pull up and ask the officers right here, they'll let you through, but it's all blocked off.
When he was told that a 7-year-old girl had been kidnapped, he responded with surprise. He said, "I was wondering what all this was about. Are you serious?" He then continued driving and making deliveries and drove past the area where he left Athena's body. While delivering packages that day, he received a call from his supervisor asking him about a specific delivery that he'd made the previous day. His grandmother called and asked if he'd heard about the Amber Alert that went out about a missing 7-year-old girl on his route. He said, "Oh, yeah, he'll keep a lookout," because an Amber Alert did go out on December 1st of 2022. Okay, so yeah, his grandmother had forwarded him a link as well. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, it's on his route. Yeah, he'll just keep a lookout for that." Meanwhile, he's like honking at people and like, "What are you all doing?" By December 2nd of 2022, investigators had footage of Athena in Tanner's van. While Texas game warden Joshua Espinoza was at Athena's home helping with the search, his brother, Texas Ranger Espinoza called him and directed him to locate and detain a FedEx driver suspected in the kidnapping. Joshua, along with other game wardens, Casey Pentecost and K9 Sergeant Chrissy Thompson, responded to the updated location, which was the corner of Hope Trail and Faith Trail, and performed a felony stop on Horner's FedEx truck. On this day, he was in a different truck. So during the trial, they referred to the vehicles as the abduction van, which he had on November 30th and December 1st, and then the arrest van, which was from December 2nd. They gave Tanner a pat-down, they identified him via his driver's license, and they notified dispatch. Tanner was interviewed by police on December 1st and 2nd, and during these interviews, he decided to introduce an alter ego called Zero. Texas Ranger Espinoza leaned into this deception because it was deception. It's not a case of dissociative identity disorder. I think he'd seen a few too many movies and he was just, role-playing. It was ridiculous. If you saw it, Oh my goodness. So he was like, rolling his eyes to the back of his head and pretending to switch and speaking differently, and it was just quite something. Okay, so Texas Ranger Espinoza leaned into this deception masterfully. It was so good to see. And so he eventually got Tanner and Zero to tell on each other and to lead them to Athena's body. That was just, oh my goodness, those Espinoza brothers. They did so good in this case.
Okay, and that didn't work? Sir. Okay. But she was facing away from you when you did that? Sir. Okay, so then... I didn't want her to see it coming. I didn't know. Okay.
At first, Tanner led police to a bamboo forest area. But after searching there with Tanner present for hours, and Tanner admitting that Athena was dead, they pressed for more answers. Tanner then doodled the route on a whiteboard in the interrogation room, for them to her body. He went with them to the area, and he directed investigators down a rough, rocky, muddy path or trail to the water's edge. Ranger Espinoza used a flashlight, because by now it was dark, angling it across the murky, stagnant water until he spotted Athena's body, buoyant and face down in approximately 3 feet of water. FBI Special Agent David Rogers, who was part of the evidence response team, testified that they carefully waded into the water to recover Athena's body and placed her onto a body bag near the water's edge.
The images of Athena laying on a body bag. She is upright, her face up. The time, you want me to go into what I recall in that moment? As we lifted her over and placed her on this bag, I remember her being really cold to the touch, firm, and then with the lights and everything that was on the bridge hitting down, her skin appeared to be glistening, almost kind of angel-like.
The scene was immediately secured. Crime scene investigators, Texas, DPS, and FBI processed the area, and when detectives asked Tanner why Athena's clothing was removed, he told them it's because he thought it was funny and humiliating. But Tanner was arrested, and he was charged with aggravated kidnapping and the capital murder of Athena Strand. He was held in the Wise County Jail on a $1.5 million bond. At first, later it was no bond. A search warrant was executed at Tanner's grandmother's house, and detectives located some of Athena's clothing on trash piles outside of his shed, as well as Athena's pants inside his backpack. Her top was never found. Athena's autopsy was performed on December 3rd, and then on December 6th of 2022, her mother was able to see her for the first time. She testified how heartbroken she was when she saw her injury. So her mother and aunt had actually driven from Oklahoma to Texas to help in the search, by the way. So she testified how heartbroken she was when she saw her injuries and how she started to prepare for Athena's funeral, which took place on December 9th of 2022. Only family and close friends attended. Disney songs were played. Athena loved the movie Frozen, and Athena was honored with a Viking princess theme. She had a custom pink casket donated by Soulshine Industries, and after the service, Athena was cremated. Her ashes were given to her mother, Maitland Gandy. Meanwhile, on December 7th of 2022, Tanner Horner requested to speak with detectives again, and of course they obliged. This time, he decided to try to negotiate a deal with them. He said that if he offered them bullet points of everything that they wanted to know from him, he wanted 1 month out of jail to spend Christmas with his son. And he was like whining about it, like, oh, that's all I want. It's just the one thing I want, is just to spend Christmas with my son, which is like, yeah, remember Athena? She wanted to spend Christmas with her family. This was her favorite holiday, but you killed her, right? But he's like, please, just let me out, just for a month. I'll wear an ankle monitor and everything.
You can't do that, I understand.
You don't want what?
I want a month.
A month of what?
Even if you want to put ankle monitors on the GPS monitors, check off with you. Like, if you give me a month with my family so I can have Christmas with my son,
Yeah.
I'll tell you everything.
I'll be completely honest with you, Tanner.
That's beyond your power, I understand.
Yeah, no, it's something that I can't even feasibly think that's possible, but I don't know that for sure, because I'm not the prosecutor, I'm not, the courts, I don't know that. So it's above my head. It's a question I'd have to ask.
Okay, so investigators did not agree to this request, and Ranger Espinoza told Horner that it was beyond their authority and made it clear that they could not grant him release or a deal like that. The jury heard jail calls between Tanner and his mother, grandmother, and girlfriend. We never got to hear the girlfriend's one. I do wonder if the jury heard it. There was a long break at some point, but we heard the jail calls between Tanner and his mother and grandmother. Tanner told his mother the lie about hitting Athena with a truck. He whined to his grandmother about jail guards and other inmates telling him that he's a monster and saying that he did not understand why. Okay. He talked about wanting to give the media their story if they would help him with bail. And he said, I always wanted to be famous, but not like this, laughing. On February 16th of 2023, a Wise County grand jury indicted him on charges of aggravated kidnapping and capital murder of a person under 10 years old. On March 6th of 2023, Tanner entered a not guilty plea at his arraignment. Other alleged victims of Tanner Horner contacted detectives, and slowly but surely, District Attorney James Stanton and his team built their case against him, filing to seek the death penalty against him. In 2024, a venue change was granted, which meant that the trial would be held in Tarrant County versus, it's actually Wise County, sorry, I wrote warrant, Wise County. Tanner had public defenders who filed 28 motions in January of 2026, including one to bar the death penalty due to Tanner's diagnosis of being on the autism spectrum. This was denied. On April 7th of 2026, the trial started with Tanner Horner telling the judge that he was pleading guilty to the charges.
Mr. Horner, to the charge of capital murder, you may plead guilty or not guilty. What is your plea?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Thank you. I will accept your plea. You may be seated. Thank you.
This meant that phase 1 of the trial, the guilt or innocence phase, fell away and would move to phase 2, which was just the penalty phase. The state's opening statements, presented by DA, the District Attorney James Stanton, offered the jury a clear picture of the evidence that they were about to hear. They highlighted that Tanner Horner lied about everything except the fact that he killed Athena. They debunked his story about hitting Athena with a truck, saying that the footage would show that Athena was in his van, not injured, she was alive, as he drove off with her. They described what a 200-pound man can do to a 67-pound child, and warned the jury of the graphic evidence that they would have to see and hear. The judge sealed this evidence, so only those in the courtroom heard it during the trial, and Stanton said that this was one of the worst cases, and that he requested the jury to deliver the only form of justice for Athena, which was the death sentence for Tanner Horner. The defense highlighted Tanner Horner's upbringing, diagnoses, and appealed to the jury for mercy. Over 8 days, the state presented a case that few would ever forget. Some jurors were described as sobbing, and post-trial counseling has been offered to the jury. So here's a recap of what happened at the trial. On day 1, witnesses included Athena's first grade teacher, Athena's stepmother, retired Wise County Sheriff Aiken, who was very emotional on the stand, and FBI Special Agent Patrick McGuire. Day 2 and 3 of the trial were mostly with Texas Ranger Espinoza, Tanner's police interviews, body cam, the recovery of Athena's body and clothing. Day 4 focused on the evidence found in the van and how the footage was obtained. DNA experts also testified about the evidence on Tanner and Athena's clothing as well as in the van. On day 5, they said that Tanner had allegedly attempted to self-delete in May of 2023 and that he'd written letters to Athena's family, to detectives, and to his own family and girlfriend. And in it was clear that he still took no responsibility for his actions and was not remorseful. We heard some of Tanner's jail calls where he was making inappropriate comments and jokes. On day 6, we heard from a resident who lived in the area where Athena was abducted and saw a body cam of Tanner's demeanor around his daughters. We heard from 2 victims of alleged sexual assault. Now, Tanner's been charged with those, okay, but not convicted yet. They were approximately between the age of 14 and 16 when Tanner was 21 and 23, and they alleged that he essayed them multiple times. And we heard from another DNA analyst. On day 7, Athena's mother took the stand and delivered a powerful, emotional testimony and spoke directly to Tanner about him meaning nothing and Athena meaning everything. We heard from several DNA analysts as well as James Becker, who worked for Velociter, the company who provided the cameras to FedEx, and he was deemed by us mostly as a hero in the case for making sure that he obtained and secured the footage captured during the abduction and murder of Athena, because apparently it only records for like 40 hours at a time. So when he heard about Athena, the Amber Alert and Athena going missing, and he already knew there was footage of Athena in the van, he jumped to make sure that wait, because he knows exactly how it works, right? Because they're the provider of the cameras. Like, we have to secure this. And he did. And Texas Ranger Espinoza actually flew out to meet him. I can't remember which state, but flew to meet him and get the thumb drive, whatever it was, the actual footage, right? Without risking any damage to it. On day 8, we heard from Athena's dad. Oh man, he was just like such a teddy bear. Shame. He's really broken, of course, about what happened to his daughter. He described turning to alcohol to help him cope, which destroyed his marriage to Ashley, so they are no longer together. He described his last moments with Athena, and we saw more video of Tanner Horner in his van from the days before the murder. So that was on November 26th and November 29th of 2022, as well as the video of him right after the murder. That was so eerie. Oh my word. And then the state rested. From days 9 to 16, the defense put on 30 witnesses for their mitigating evidence, who all said almost the same thing. Like, to the point where we thought, is this like Groundhog Day? Are we like just stuck on a loop here? Like, what is going on? And many of the witnesses were blurred out. The experts weren't, but all of the other witnesses were, so it was pretty difficult to watch. It was all about Tanner Horner's diagnoses, including autism, lead poisoning, depression, anxiety. His mother and grandmother took the stand. His grandmother apologized to Athena's family, and she said that she thinks about Athena every day, which I think was a bit damaging to the defense's case. You know what I mean? It became almost like some of these witnesses became the state's witnesses by the end of it. His mother said that Tanner had made her so angry with what he has done that she wants to tear his ass up. We heard from aunts, teachers who saw Tanner 20 years ago, and many witnesses who had not seen Tanner since he was a child. Eventually, during the trial, we started joking that we're going to hear from like the Tanner Horner's friends, cousins, aunts, brother's babysitter who once saw him in a stroller. It was like just so far removed from Tanner as an adult sitting there in the courtroom, right? Several expert witnesses testified about Tanner's autism diagnoses. None of them asked about the abduction and murder. The defense was like, no, just focus on the autism and the upbringing, just that. So it just didn't come across as all that credible, or impactful, I should say. We learned that Wise County had to pay over $500,000 for Tanner's defense because, he had public defenders, so the state pays. And some experts charged over $100,000 for their work and testimony. We saw pediatricians testify about Tanner's childhood, even though they never met him then, and he's now an adult, right? That was frustrating. We heard a second cousin who described how Tanner ate coins as a child and how they had to hide the coins from him. And this is where we coped through the defense case by referring to Tanner as coin crapper. That's how many of us refer to him now, right? Because they said he would gobble up all these coins and he would get all constipated and he would crap out the coins, they'd wash the coins, he'd gobble up the coins. We were like, whoa. In fact, the defense in their closing arguments made a very inappropriate joke, which apparently didn't land with the jury at all. Courtroom insiders were like, the jury was like, what the hell? Where they said that Tanner ate coins and was pretty much his own ATM machine. Okay. For the almost 9,000 of us who watched the trial live together daily, this defense case was insufferable. Hey, if you're going to rewatch the whole trial, good luck with that. On day 16, the defense rested. Oh man, that was an exciting moment. And on May 5th of 2026, the state and defense presented their closing arguments. The jury received their instructions. They went off to deliberate. Between two and a half and 3 hours later, they came back. And so they delivered their verdict. They sentenced Tanner to death. So right then and there, the judge asked the state and the defense if they object to him sentencing him right away. They said no one objects. And immediately, the Judge Gallagher, sentenced Tanner Horner to death by lethal injection.
Mr. Horner, if you'd stand, please. It's the order of the court that you, Tanner Lynn Horner, has been adjudged to be guilty of the offense of capital murder as found by the jury. Jury having answered the special issues making it mandatory that your punishment be death, it is therefore the order of this court that your punishment be death. Before the hour of sunrise on a date to be determined by this court, upon a mandate of affirmance issued by the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals at the State Penitentiary in Huntsville, Texas, you will be caused to die in accordance with the rules and regulations established by the Texas Department of Criminal Justice until you, said Tanner Horner, are dead. Said execution procedure shall be determined and supervised by the Director of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. The clerk of this court shall issue a death warrant in accordance with this sentence directed to the Director of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for that purpose. Clerk shall deliver such warrant to the Sheriff of this county and to be by him delivered to the Director of the Department of Criminal Justice together with you, and you will remand to the custody of the Tarrant County Jail to await transportation to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice at Huntsville, Texas, and the execution of this sentence. I will sign this death sentence as required by law. Your appeal of the finding of this guilt by the jury and their determination of the answers to the question in this sentence are automatically appealed to the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals in Austin, Texas. You will be appointed a lawyer to represent you on direct appeal, and your lawyer will receive a copy of the record of this charge, of this case at no charge. You have the right to have a second lawyer to represent you on writs of habeas corpus. It's a separate matter from your direct appeal. Do you wish to have counsel appointed for your writ purposes? Yes, sir. Okay, then I will appoint you writ lawyers for that. Ms. Anderson, Mr. Goebel, if you will remain on his case pending his decision, and we have all the appellate paperwork filled out, I have received his acknowledgement certification of the right to appeal, and I appreciate you doing that.
And Tanner was then transported to TDCJ's Alan B. Polanski unit. He will be in a solitary cell for 23 hours a day. He'll shower 2 to 3 times a week. He'll only see approved visitors behind thick glass. He has no tablet or TV, and he will stay there until his execution date has been decided, following several automatic appeals. He is 34 years old in May of 2026. Athena's case is one of the most devastating and traumatizing cases most of us have ever heard of. She should be celebrating her 11th birthday with her family who loved her so much on May 23rd of 2026. To think that a FedEx driver who was delivering her Christmas gifts could abduct her and commit such brutal acts on her, taking her life at just 7 years old, is truly unimaginable. After Tanner was sentenced, Athena's uncle said it best.
That you are nothing. You are a footnote in Athena's story. Her name will forever be remembered. Her name will forever be celebrated, and everyone will forget you. You wanted your 15 minutes of fame. You got it.
Athena's case directly inspired a new Texas law because her family tried to get an Amber Alert issued quickly, but it was delayed. Standard Amber Alert criteria at the time required clear evidence of an abduction, not just a missing child, which of course slowed things down. On June 14th of 2023, Governor Greg Abbott signed House Bill 3556, creating the Athena Alert. It allows law enforcement to issue a regional alert within a 100-mile radius and adjacent counties as soon as a child is reported missing, without having to confirm an abduction first. Athena and her family will never be forgotten. If you'd like to watch the trial, as I said earlier, the replays are always there for you. They are time-stamped in the pinned comments, in the description box. You can also just hover over the video. You'll see the chapters over there. And so let me know if you do go and watch them. Comment on those videos too, because I do check comments even if you're watching trials from whenever ago. This was our 27th trial at Grizzly True Crime. And my goodness, what a devastating case. Sending love to all involved in this case, a case that united people from all over the world. And may we never have to speak this brutal killer's name again. Athena matters. Athena is everything, and he is nothing. He is now TDCJ inmate number 999640. If you watch the trial with me, or you go back and watch the replays and there's something that stood out to you in the trial, feel free to comment that below as well as part of the summary. I'm sure people will enjoy reading the comments too and just hearing what stood out to you and which witnesses they should check out as well. Thank you so much for following Athena's case with me, for watching the trial with me, and for all your support. I look forward to watching another trial with you. There are plenty planned, and we just take it day by day because, you know, trial dates, sentencing dates, all of that can change. So we just mark our Grizzly calendars in pencil and we take it from there. The next trial will be trial number 28 that we cover here at Grizzly True Crime, and I hope to see you all there. In the meantime, I wish you a wonderful, today's Friday, the day I'm recording this, Friday, the 8th of May of 2026. So I wish you a wonderful weekend. If you're watching from the future, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you made it all the way to the end of the video, and I will see you in the next one. Stay safe.